Well, hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. Good, a little more excitement than that. We're actually here. Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah. So good to see all you guys. If you're new here, my name is John Wagler. I'm part of this Hill City team, and so grateful that you chose to spend a portion of your Christmas week here with us. We're so excited to be able to gather like this, and I know that there are going to be folks watching online too, so if you're online today watching, thank you for watching and taking part of this as well. We know everyone's got different perspectives on this season and what to do and what not to do, and we're just so thankful to be able to have all the options to be able to do this. And as we head into the new year, we'll be gathering here a little more regularly, which is really exciting for us. But we've been in this season where we've been talking about over this entire Christmas season about peace. And there's a reality that peace has been lacking. How many guys would love a little more peace during this season? Yeah. And when I started thinking about peace, I was thinking about a conversation that I had with someone, this is probably 2 or 3 months ago now at this point, where they talked about how 2020 for them has just been like, they felt like it was just a big pile of poop. And they didn't use poop, but they described it in that way. And it reminded me a little bit of in middle school, my friends, I couldn't do stuff for Halloween. My mom and dad would not let me, which is fine. But this isn't like airing the grievances, but it's just like that's the way it was. But my friends did at night, and what happened was they would go out at night, and I remember I was in, I think, 7th grade, and I remember going to school the following day, and I was like, guys, what happened last night? Like, you'll never believe it. Like, these older kids, like, they actually got, like, flaming bags of poop, and were throwing it at people and throwing it in the yard, and I was like, that might be the best description of 2020 this year, is just, like, flaming bags of poo everywhere. And so, but I started thinking about that a little bit, and for some of us in this room, and I would actually put myself in this category, there is some truth to the fact that a portion of this year, maybe a good chunk of this year, has just felt like garbage. It's felt really bad. It's been hard. Maybe you've lost a loved one. Maybe you've gotten sick. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe you've just been frustrated. Maybe there's been relationships that were otherwise you thought were solid, and you've seen those go away. And it's just been a difficult season for one reason or another. Even for me, I was thinking about how about 5 or 6 months of this year, I was in what was kind of theologically called the dark night of the soul. If you guys were here, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, I've actually preached on this for a couple of weeks, and I think it was actually maybe God helping me prep for this season of my life. But for about 5 or 6 months, here's what was just happening. I was doing everything I could think of, like in terms of discipline and how I would ever tell someone else to try and to connect with God, and to, from prayer to study to community to changing up your habits to anything you can imagine, singing in your car, singing on a walk, doing whatever. I tried everything I could possibly do, and my prayer life was I prayed more than any other time in my whole entire life during this 5 or 6 months, but it was also the most distant I felt from God in probably 20 years. And it was in this season that I just kept knowing. I was like, I know what's on the other side of this. I know what's on the other side of this. I know what's coming, and I've just got to keep waiting, and I've just got to keep pushing and kind of grinding this thing out. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, this incredible, honestly, it felt like just this huge weight just lifted off my shoulders, and just felt like, here it is. Like, I feel so connected to God. So in the midst of this dark night of the soul for me, I experienced this light. That's what it felt like. All of a sudden, my whole presence felt lighter, and it felt like I was experiencing the light of Christ coming into my life, and it was just a fascinating time. And there were some other things too that began to play into this. And I remember I don't even remember where I saw this, to be honest, but there were these 2 artists. One of them's named Tim Noble, the other one's Sue Webster, and they do this work around. They take pieces of garbage, and some of you guys may have seen this before, and they put it all together. And I don't have a before and after. I only have just this one shot. But what they do is they take these pieces of garbage, and they put it there, and then they shine light on it, and then there's something else that comes on the other side. Here's another picture here. Here's another one where they just take pictures of garbage, and then there's something, once the light hits it, there's some other kind of perspective. And I was like, this is the perfect thing for us this Christmas season. Because a lot of times we're talking about, this year's been garbage, or this year's been something, or whatever. You felt this darkness all around you, whatever it is. But when we let the light of God shine in this, he's got something for us for a perspective on the other side of it. If we choose to engage it. If we choose to want to see it. And so that's the challenge for this Christmas season. You see, the reality is Christmas, and when we talk about Christmas, this isn't, hey, if you just believe in Christmas and you believe in Jesus, all your pain goes away. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying suffering is going to go away. I'm not saying you won't have times of confusion, you won't have times of doubt, that you won't have times where you feel disconnected to God, that you won't have times where you feel like it's really difficult. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that this Christmas season, if we let the light shine properly, something will come through that time of garbage or that season of garbage or that person who feels like garbage or whatever it is in your life. And on the other side of this is a perspective you never would have seen unless you let the light of Christ shine in it. Here's the line that I want us to concentrate on here tonight, and that's simply this, that the Christmas story shows that the light of Jesus can bring beauty to whatever mess is around us or is in us. The Christmas story shows that the light of Jesus can bring beauty to whatever mess is around us or is in us. You know, even in the start of the Bible, in Genesis chapter 1, it talks about this darkness that was around. And that this darkness, and in the midst of darkness, it's always chaotic, it's confusing, there's no structure. It's the way the Bible describes it, it's formless, it's void of anything. There's no life in it. And then the first phrase that we see in Scripture of God speaking is what? Let there be what? Say it louder. Let there be light. And when that light came into this world, what happened after that? All of a sudden, there's a formation of heavens and earth and waters, right? All of a sudden, there's all these other creative things start coming into play. And then eventually what ends up happening is humanity, life comes out of this. So in order for us to experience life, we need light. And some of us have been in a pit of darkness for quite some time, maybe some by our own choosing, or maybe it was put on you by somebody else. But in this season of darkness, what we need is light. Because here's the reality, right? Like darkness is simply just the absence of light. And so if you've been feeling in your soul that it's just been a hard season, that's been a hard year, that's been maybe even feels longer than that, I'm not sitting here and telling you like, hey, 2021 is going to be better. I don't know. It might be worse. That sounds good on Christmas, right? But it might be. I don't know. But here's what I do know. If you let the light shine in that darkness, you'll see another perspective on the other side of it. Rather than having a woe is me attitude, rather than saying that this was the worst, you will look at this season of time and you'll be able to say, this is what I actually learned from it. And through this, I experienced God in a different way. Through this, I experienced life in a different way because we all need light. We're going to look at a passage today in Isaiah chapter 9. If you guys have watched the Christmas Spectacular, has anyone watched it yet? Yeah, right? It's pretty good. And we're going to be showing it, I'm no lip syncing up here today, but we're going to be showing that tomorrow and then on Thursday or Friday as well, all day long. So if people want to see it, you can just watch it whenever. But in that Christmas Spectacular, I actually referenced this passage out of Isaiah 9, but I'm going to look at it from a different angle tonight. So if you watch both things, you'll get a double dose of this passage. But Isaiah, for those of you who aren't familiar with your Bibles, it's broken up into two parts. So there's an Old Testament and there's a New Testament. And in Isaiah, all the Old Testament is before Jesus. And so Isaiah is one of these prophets of God and who would say these things, that would hear the word from God, and he would kind of proclaim this to the community around them. And so what we're about to read today is actually about 700 years before Jesus was born. And so I wanted to take a look, because we just sang part of this in this last song. And it says this: the people walking in darkness, all right? So I'm going to highlight a couple of things here. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. You have enlarged the nation and increased their joy. So this light means that when people experience this light, it not only brings a great joy, but that it's for all people. That isn't just for a select grouping of anyone. That this great light is so powerful that it shifts everything. It shifts nations together. It says, they rejoice before you as people rejoice at the harvest, as warriors rejoice when dividing the plunder. For as the day of Midian's defeat, you have shattered the yoke that burdens them. the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor. Every warrior's boot used in battle, every garment rolled in blood will be destined for burning, will be fuel for the fire. And so what Isaiah is saying here is this new king, this new kingdom, it's different than anything else. It's different than anything else that you've ever experienced. It's a different way of even operating in terms of battle and what it means to have an actual kingdom. Continues on, he says, for unto us a child is born, to a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. It's saying like, there's something special about this son, about this child. And he will be called, this is what we just sang, Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government, in peace, there will be what? No end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. And so this passage that was written, you might be wondering, like, is this talking about Jesus? Yes. I mean, when this was actually written, was it talking about Jesus? No. They were thinking it was more or less probably going to be this King Hezekiah, for those of you guys who know the Bible a little bit. They were thinking like this is who this is supposed to be and everything. And these titles that were given were pretty normal for any kind of king. But because Jesus is who he is, and because he died and rose again, and because we know the end of the story with Jesus, then this actually becomes about him. 700 years before his life, this becomes about him. And here's what's just so cool about this. I'm gonna nerd out a little bit for you guys, if you'll let me do that for a second. Because the Bible's cool. All right, so this passage is pretty cool. So where was Jesus born? Bethlehem. All right, so right here. So Jesus is born in Bethlehem, but where's he from? Do you guys know? Nazareth, right? Nazareth. All right. So Nazareth is up here. Now, in Bethlehem and Nazareth, so if you're looking at a picture of Israel right there, which is about the size of New Jersey. Any Jersey folks in here? No? Okay. Usually Jersey people will shout it out. So I'm from New York. I can say this. So we're looking at Israel, and here's what's just interesting about this passage. Where Nazareth is the Galilean area. And what ends up happening, if you read your Bible, they're always attacked from the north. Okay, so all the attacks always come this way, all right? And it always works down through Israel. And so here's what Isaiah is saying. This wonderful counselor, this mighty God, this everlasting Father, this Prince of Peace, this child that's going to be born to us is going to build a kingdom, and he's going to be from the place right here. That's his crown, I guess. When he's going to be right there from this place of Nazareth, where it's always so vulnerable there. It's where people always come in. It's where every empire always comes in and wipes out everybody else and takes over and oppresses people. And what Isaiah is saying here is there's going to be a new kind of king and a new kind of kingdom. And it's going to look so different. And it's going to come from this area of Israel. Now, people would have been saying, what? This is craziness. Nothing comes, like at one point they were saying, nothing good comes from Nazareth. And they're saying that the reason that Isaiah is putting this in there is like, I'm telling you that what will come from this king is like nothing you've ever seen before. This light that will shine is like nothing you've ever seen before. You think you've seen peace, but you have not experienced the peace of what this child would bring. John, in describing Jesus, he says it this way. He says, the one who is what? The true light, who gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. So he's talking about this idea of a true light is coming. There's a lot of fake lights out of there. There's a lot of things that come into our world right now, even right now, and tell you, oh, you want peace, just have this. You want to experience life and purpose, just do it this way. But what John says is the true light is coming into the world. And there's been a lot about the star and obviously all the planets and all the things that are happening right now in our solar system. And some people are like, this is like just like the Star of Bethlehem, right? And maybe, I don't know. But we know something significant has been happening in the sky, and this is like a really cool moment. But we know that the wise men, like they traveled and they followed this star. You know, Jesus was probably a year or 2 years old at that point in time. And so they come to see him, they follow this star. Why? Because it was this great light that was leading them to something special. Now, in the story, Herod does not want the light, does he? He is decided, nope, I hear about this king, and I'm too prideful, I'm too controlling. I'm going to choose darkness, and I want to quench the light. Here's the reality about that, and honestly of us too. When we are comfortable in darkness, we avoid the light, don't we? When you guys, when you're lying in bed and you get up maybe in the middle of the night, you think you can see, don't you? Like you think, oh, this is cool, I can see. It's fine. And you think that why? Because you've gotten accustomed to the darkness, and so you actually think it's light. You actually think you can see, but the reality is you can't. Like you're one stub toe away from realizing you can't see. And so what ends up happening, it shows us that we are comfortable with darkness. Even with our kids, when we wake them up, our youngest daughter, Ruby, she's 3. She's not comfortable yet of understanding, like our 12-year-olds are, about like what it's like when you wake up. You know, there's a big difference. So there's a 9-year difference between them. And when we wake up Ruby, or when she wakes us up, I should say, and we go into her room and we flick on the light, she's just like kind of like, she kind of like squints her eyes for a second, but it's like, hey, good morning, Mama, or good morning, Dada, and it kind of like moves on from there, right? So she kind of enjoys the light. Our 12-year-olds, Max and Avea, there's a point in your life where you cross over into teenager world, right? And you're butting up to this, and everyone remembers this season. And what happens is you go in and you wake up your 12-year-olds or 13 or however old your teenagers are, and it's like you flick on the lights and say it's time to get up, and what happens? They're not, hey, good morning, Mom and Dad, right? Like, what are they like? They're like, right? They're like just like Gollum is like coming out of there, and it's just like you're just like, what in the world is going on, right? And they put the covers back on their face and everything, and then you have to go back in, right? Because they don't want to get in the light. And here's what happens: we get so accustomed to the darkness in our lives. When that light shines, it hurts for a second because we've been in darkness for too long. When the light shines in your life, it's gonna hurt. It's going to hurt for a second because you're going to realize, man, you got another way to live your life. And there's going to be some things that are going to have to change. And to do that, sometimes it's just going to hurt. Jesus even says it this way, and I love when he starts talking about light. He says in Matthew 6, he says, the eye is a lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. And the light within you, and if the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? You see, what begins to happen within this darkness is we think the way that we're living our life is actually light. And Jesus says, I'm sorry, you're following something else. You're too comfortable in your darkness. It's just too much. And you've gotten so accustomed to it. And here's what I think when I look out today at the kind of overall Christianity in our culture, I think there's a reality that this verse is very true. That there are Christians who think that the way that they're living is light, but really it's not. It's darkness. And you know how you know that? If people aren't drawn to Jesus by the way you talk and the way you love and the way you live, then you're not living in the light, you're actually promoting darkness. Yes, there will be times where there will be people that are so hard-hearted they want nothing to do with Jesus. I understand that. But the reality is there's something so beautiful, so purpose-filled, so life-giving that when people are living in the light, they want to be around you. They want to hear your perspective. They want to hear what you think about things because there's just something so attractive about that light. But what happens in darkness is it separates us from God. I remember hearing this story about this missionary named Jim Walton. And he was a missionary to Colombia, and he goes on this trip, and they were supposed to go from one tribe to the next tribe, and to get to the next tribe took about 3 days on foot. But a plane was coming in. This plane was going to actually take them and the chief to go to this other area of the country. And if you do it that way by plane, it takes like 25 minutes. But the plane was late. And so the chief just decides, you know what, I'm just going by myself. And he kind of brings some of his people with him. And so Jim just stays there and waits with some of the other people. And the plane actually comes in about 20 minutes after the chief had already left and started kind of walking the other way. Well, so everyone starts chasing after the chief to kind of bring him back in. And by the time they get the chief and they come back, the plane had already kind of touched down and left again. And the chief starts yelling. He starts yelling this phrase. He says, I don't have one heart. I don't have one heart. I don't have one heart. And he says it repeatedly. And Walton, the missionary, is sitting there and he's like, He looks at someone that he knows that's part of the tribe who's translating. He goes, what does he mean? I don't have one heart. And he said, when you have one heart with something, there is no separation between you. He goes, in the second he knew that there was some conflict around, he knew that, there's some separation between us. And Walton goes on to describe that that's how he knew what described oneness with God, that there was no separation between him and God. That's what oneness with God really is. But you cannot get that without his light. You know, the proper response to Christmas, I've been thinking a lot about this week. The proper response to Christmas isn't devotion to the idea of Jesus. It's devotion to the heart of Jesus. Here's why this is important. You can love the idea of Jesus. I mean, honestly, who doesn't like the idea of Jesus? Even if down to the fact he's a good dude, right? And we can say, I like the idea of Jesus, but that doesn't move the needle. That doesn't change anything. That doesn't mean you're following Jesus. All that means is that you know of him, you're just not with him. There's no oneness there. But we're invited into this story. But we're invited in to get closer to Jesus. We're invited in to experience the light of Jesus in our life. We are invited in to find our whole purpose and all that we are through the light of Christ. And we only do that of understanding that Christmas is about devotion and following to the heart of Jesus. That's what light ends up being. Jesus even says it this way in John 8. He says, I'm the light of the world if you follow me. When he says, if you follow me, he says, you won't have to walk in darkness. So here's what this means. If you don't follow me, you will walk in darkness. So if you follow me and go after my heart, you will not walk in darkness because you will have the light that leads to life. If you want to experience peace in this Christmas season, then you need the light of Jesus to come in that will lead you to life. Darkness leads you to chaos. Darkness leads you to pain. Darkness leads you to broken relationships. Darkness leads you to trying to find your purpose in some other vice that will only end you in just feeling utter despair in your life. But the light of Jesus changes everything. Everything. It comes in and brings light into the darkness. Jesus, towards the end of his life, he looked around and he saw some people who wanted to follow him and then others who chose not to. Here's the thing about Jesus. You have a choice to follow him or not. You have a choice to believe in his death and resurrection. You have a choice to do this. And Jesus, in the story goes that towards the end of his life, he is coming in and he's standing at the Mount of Olives. And remember, we were actually in Israel a year ago at this point in time, so remember this. We're standing at the Mount of Olives. And what ends up happening is you stand there and you see, when Jesus was looking at Jerusalem, this is what he saw. And so it's this really cool moment where you're standing there and it's overlooking Jerusalem. And he's looking out into this city. And Jerusalem means a city of peace. And he's realizing these people don't have peace. They don't know me. They don't know what they're missing. And he looks out and he knows what's coming. He knows he's about to die and he knows he's going to rise again, all that stuff. But he looks out and he knows what's going on in the hearts of people and what they're missing. And he says it this way in Luke chapter 19. He says, if you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but now it's hidden from your eyes. Why is it hidden from your eyes? Because you've chosen to be accustomed to darkness. You've chosen to ignore the light. It even says that Jesus, at this point in time, actually began to weep over the people that would not come to know him and to choose him and experience the light of his life. Here's the thing. I have the same choice right now. You have the same choice this Christmas season. Do you want to experience peace and purpose and life, or do you want to choose darkness? It's your choice. It's our choice to take a look at this and say, man, this year, for whatever reason, might have been garbage for some perspective. You might be thinking that. You might have walked into these doors today thinking to yourself, I guess I'll do Christmas this year. Or maybe You're coming in, you're like, you just felt the weight of this year. And here's what I'm telling you. If you let the light of Jesus shine on that pile of whatever, on the other side of this is a perspective you would never, ever see if it weren't for him. And it's a choice. It's a choice to choose light or darkness. It's a choice, just like they did, if you want to follow Jesus or you want to kill him. That's basically what happened, right? That's what we do. When we choose light, we want to follow Jesus. When we choose darkness, we're trying to quench him or kill him out of our lives. That is our choice this Christmas season. Do we really want the heart of God? Do we really want to grow closer to Jesus? Is that our desire? If it is, you've got peace waiting for you. You've got hope on the other side of this. You've got a life and a light and a perspective that you can only see through him. But it's your choice. Will you pray with me? Band, you guys can come back up. God, tonight, there's a lot of different stories here tonight. There's a lot of different perspectives. There's a lot of different experiences. People have walked into this Christmas season with a lot of different emotions. But here's what I know that does not change, and that's your light. That is your peace, and that is your love for us. If we would just choose to want to be closer to you, choose to want to let your light shine all throughout us. That no matter what we're going through in life, and I really mean this, it doesn't matter what you're going through, how good or how bad. No matter what it is, God, if we get closer to the heart of who you are and let your light shine through, we will see a picture and have a perspective that is truly God-given. And it changes everything. It changes in the same way that your death and resurrection changed everything. It gives us the ultimate hope. That's the story of your gospel. So God, tonight I just pray, we're going to respond here in a couple of different ways, but I just pray that this Christmas season hits a little different. The idea of light just means something different to us this year. We give this to you. In your name we pray. Everyone said, amen. So here's what's going to happen now, guys. We're gonna sing a couple of songs. I'm going to start off with this song called Closer. And in your bags, you have a candle. So if you guys want to reach out in those bags and grab that candle. And as we all stand up here in just a second, and as these guys begin to sing, our hosts are going to start lighting some of the candles around you, and then if your candle's not lit, just lean to the person that has one lit and light it that way. Don't make them lean, because then they'll drip wax on you. But we're going to sing this song together. I want the words. I know it's not a Christmas song, but man, the words of this song, I want it to just sink deep into our souls tonight. And as each flame, as you see it start coming around this room, I want it to be a reminder of the light of Christ that can come into this place. The light that can pervade the darkness in our lives. Will you stand and sing this with us?
Like a rushing wind, would you breathe within my heart? And through the raging storm, would you hold me in your arms? 'Cause I need you. draw me closer to your heart. Through the wind and rain, I can hear you call my name. And when the nights get rough, I will still sing out your praise. 'Cause I need you. How I need you. I need your love like I need water. I need your love like I need breath inside of my lungs, burning my heart just like a fire. Come and take me over. Jesus, draw me closer to your heart, to your heart, to your heart. Jesus, draw me closer. Closer than my every breath, closer than my every step, closer than the songs I sing, closer than anything, closer than my every breath, closer than my every step, closer than the songs I sing, closer than anything. 'Cause I need your love like I need water. I need your love like I need breath inside of my lungs, burning my heart just like a fire. Come and take me over. Jesus, draw me closer to your heart, to your heart, to your heart. Jesus, draw me closer to your heart.
So God, tonight as we hold these candles and I pray that this image of the candle and the flame, as we just sang, this image would just burn in our hearts of our need to be closer to you, of our need to be closer to your heart, to experience your light. And I realize we'll put these candles out here in just a second, God, but here's what I know. If we allow your light to come into our lives, it never goes out. And so this Christmas, my prayer, my hope is for everyone that is listening to this live or online, that this will be a Christmas season where the light will shine brighter in our lives than it ever has before. And on the other end of this, we see and experience a peace and a hope and a love and a connection to you like never before. So thank you. In your name we pray. Everyone said, amen. Hey, all right, so with the candles, there's buckets of water near you, so you don't have to like blow everywhere. You can just put it face down in the bucket. If you don't have one, there's got to be a bucket there close to you. You can just dump it right in there. And then Lamont's going to give us instructions on what to do at the end here with this last song called Joy to the World.
All right, so as we're finishing putting out the candles, in true Hill City fashion, we've got to end things off in a bang. So in the middle of this song, you guys have little wands. Everybody have a wand? So in the middle of the song, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go, and then everybody's going to flick your wand. Don't do it now, but you're going to flick your wand at that point. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, go, flick. Everybody got it? Yes? All right, let's go ahead. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. And heaven and nature sing. We will sing, sing, sing. Joy to the world. We will sing, sing, sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let